reporting for Global Post from Sana'a, Yemen. So the footage is of a mosque which was converted into a makeshift hospital at the university, Sana'a University, last night. Shortly after, the police opened fire on a group of protesters who were trying to bring tents into the university area. The police fired tear gas and live rounds into the crowd, and 10 people were shot and over 50 people were injured by this tear gas. The images you can see are mainly young Yemeni men who are laying out flat on beds after having tear gas fired at them. This is kind of significant because it's the first time that we've seen uniformed Yemeni soldiers firing at unarmed protesters in the capital of Yemen. There's been violence in the past, but so far it's been between pro-Saleh, pro-government supporters, and anti-government protesters. So last night was significant because it was actually the first time that the army itself has been involved in a direct confrontation with the protesters. So people are worried that this may symbolize an escalation in the situation here in Yemen. One of the reasons the violence broke out last night was because the police are desperately trying to stop this tent city from spreading any further into the capital. They already occupied 3 main roads surrounding the university, which is like a mile long, full of tents. And these guys who got into a confrontation with the police last night were trying to extend the length of the tents, trying to set up new tents and expand. So definitely this protest is getting bigger, and it's something that the government is obviously very worried about.
Medics scrambling to help injured protesters. They were camping outside Sana'a University, the focal point of the reform movement, when security forces stormed the camp, opening fire. A move that is likely to stoke tension in Yemen. It was a tense, busy day that started with plumes of smoke billowing from the central prison in the capital. Violence broke out when inmates started chanting anti-government slogans and denouncing President Saleh. Security forces fired tear gas. The whole area is sealed off by security forces amid mounting tension in the capital. The popular movement for change has entered its 4th week, and the resolve of the protesters remains strong.
I think after Tunisia and Egypt, we are very optimistic that change will come to Yemen. I mean, after 30 years as a president on Yemen, it's time to change.
They know that the fall of the regime may depend on a complex interplay of factors like the role of the army, the tribes, and the opposition.
Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Thursday, March 10th, 2011, and I'm Darko. Welcome to part 3 here of this news bulletin. We're going to move on towards the Middle East and the police state and Big Brother. And first up, we have Gaddafi tanks, jets strike deeper into rebel heartland. It says here from Reuters, Libyan tanks fired on rebel positions in the oil port of Ras Lunaf, and warplanes hit another oil hub further east on Thursday as Muammar Gaddafi carried out counterattacks deeper into insurgent heartland. From the BBC, BBC staff subjected to mock execution in Libya. 3 BBC staff were detained, beaten, and subjected to mock executions by pro-regime soldiers in Libya. So you can check that out. Link will be posted. Russia bans arms supplies to Libya. It says Russia has banned any supply of weapons to Libya and suspended its arms contracts with Tripoli in response to Libyan regime's brutal attacks on revolutionary forces. Then we have NATO. Libyan no-fly zone carries complex risk. And then it says here, Western leaders know NATO jets could easily force Gaddafi few dozen Cold War warplanes from the skies and rob the Libyan dictator of a powerful weapon against rebels trying to oust him, but they're wary of involvement. I'm not really sure. I think they're trying to do the full court press here. They're just waiting for the public and everyone to feel as though they're needed. Libya no-fly zone would require bombing range, says the U.S. This is from the AFP. Enforcing a no-fly zone over Libya would first require bombing the North African nation's air defense system. Top U.S. Commander General James Mattis warned Tuesday a no-fly zone will require removing the air defense capability first. Mattis said it would be a military operation. The general said Libya no-fly zone offer dismissed. British military experts said the UK lacks the capacity to patrol a no-fly zone over Libya, where its dictator Gaddafi is killing innocents to consolidate his reign. Then we have how Cameron's SAS and MI6 bond op bungled in the Benghazi. It says as far as paperback novels and heroic British figures go, few can top events in Libya this week. 8 British men, including 6 SAS soldiers and James Bond-style MI6 agents, dropped by helicopter in Benghazi under the cover of night, only to be surrounded and captured by local farmers, come rebels, according to major news reports. You can check that out. Libya slams French recognition of rebels. The Libyan government slammed France's illegal decision on Thursday to recognize Libya's rebels and warned that the move could lead to a break in diplomatic relations. Libyan bombing may be crimes against humanity, says UN. And I've covered basically the bombings in Libya from the RT perspective, the Russian side, and they say that there's no bombs. The Russians military has reported that there has been no bombs from the Libyans' air force. So a little conflicting reports there. Clinton to meet anti-Gaddafi opposition as world weighs Libya options. Secretary of State to meet Libyan opposition leaders during an upcoming trip to Egypt and Tunisia, the first such visit since the U.S.-backed regimes were toppled amid popular arrests. U.S.-backed regimes. So these are their boys. You think they'd be wanting to help them, but no, they want al-Baradi to come in. They're ready for the new change, right? It says here, Libya, British plans to strip Gaddafi of oil revenue. Then BBC News, James Clapper says Libya's Muammar Gaddafi will prevail. UN National Intelligence Director has predicted embattled Libyan leader Colonel Muammar Gaddafi will defeat the rebels, challenging his grip on power. So that's interesting. Then we have Saudi Arabia police open fire at protests in Qatif. Police in Saudi Arabia have opened fire to disperse protesters in the eastern city of Qatif a day before planned countrywide anti-government protests, which will, of course, send oil up probably about $20 to $50 to even $75 a barrel. Saudi role, and that's what, of course, is wanted and desired, right? By the powers that be in the West. Saudi role in Yemen crackdown exposed. A Yemeni opposition leader says Saudi Arabia collaborates with intensifying efforts by Sano to suppress outrage mass across the country that have been calling for the ouster of Yemen's unpopular ruler. Then we have 2 more protesters injured in Yemen. And next up is Moroccan king says constitution to be revised. And maybe you should meet up with Jesse Jackson Jr.'s Jesse Jackson Jr. to do that. Bahraini student protests persist. Hundreds of Bahraini students have rallied in the streets of the kingdom's capital, Amman, keeping up pressure on the unpopular Sunni-led monarchy. Then we have al-Baradi announces his plan to run for Egypt presidency, and he seems to be the man. I don't know, obviously, but I'm hedging all my bets, all my money, all my chips on Sarah Palin to be president for the U.S. and al-Baradi for Egypt, because what? He's the British's boy and the West's boy. So it says al-Baradi vows to restore Iranian ties, and I thought that was kind of interesting. I was surprised by that because he is backed by the West. So why would he say that? Well, because he wants to get elected by the people, right? And, of course, he'll back out on all of his promises like all of them do. Secret FBI, CIA documents and sex videotapes found at Egypt's terror police headquarters. So it's pretty crazy talking about inside the dark quarters of Mubarak's terror police, an enraged population liberated prisoners still in their isolated cells, which were a little larger than phone booths, In the process, they found torture devices, mountains of shredded documents, dozens of computers stripped from their hard drives, and a stash of videotapes showing famous people, from actors to politicians, both Egyptians and from other countries, having sex. The videos were recorded by the secret police in hotel rooms. Nobody knows who stars in them yet, but I'm sure we will know about it very soon. Ivory Coast, Laurent Gbagbo bans UN and French flights. The government's disputed president, Laurent Gbagbo, has banned UN and French peacekeeping aircraft from flying over or landing in the Ivory Coast. Then the AP exclusive, Afghan forces to start taking over. So good luck. I saw pictures of them. They don't look too experienced or battle-hardened or well-trained, but hey, we'll see, right? U.S. bases cause violence in Afghanistan. And then we have this. German soldiers shot Afghan women. NATO kills cousin of Afghan President Hamid Karzai, relative of Afghan president, has been mistakenly killed by NATO troops in southern Afghanistan. And I'm not sure who he really represents, the people or the people that put him in there or allow him to be there. But, you know, he's been calling out, he's been against all the bases, and you know, a lot of stuff's going on in Pakistan right now. They got the CIA agent and actually another CIA agent. One was just released, but the other one is still there. Shot 2 Pakistanis. So a lot of stuff is going on in Pakistan, a lot of anti-U.S. sentiment. Petraeus warns of tough summer ahead. The top U.S. and NATO commander in Afghanistan said fighting this summer may be worse than the last, but some reduction in American forces is still possible in July. 2 girls' schools are destroyed in Pakistan. Then we have Hezbollah warns of U.S.-backed assault. Hezbollah has warned that the U.S.-backed UN court alleging to investigate former Lebanese premier Rafiq Hariri's murder serves to mount an assault on the Lebanese nation. So we have USS Ronald Reagan joins military drills in South Korea, ignoring threats of North Korea, which described the ongoing military drill between the U.S. and Korea as a preparation for invasion and provocation. The U.S. 7th Fleet disclosed that nuclear-powered USS Ronald Reagan would participate in Full Eagle field training exercise. So field training exercise, not just naval. Then we have U.S. Philippine to hold annual joint drills in April. Around 8,000 American Philippine soldiers will participate in this year's Bulletin exercise is an annual large-scale training activity aimed at improving the interoperability of the two militaries, and eventually the U.S. and South Korea, or one of those countries, is going to keep doing these exercises, getting closer and closer to North Korea, and pretty much keep begging them to strike them. And when they strike them, they'll say, oh, we're a victim. And all throughout the news, the propaganda will spread that North Korea attacked South Korea, when in reality, just like last time, it was basically the South Koreans attacked the North Koreans first, and also it was the South Koreans ran over an old mine in the water, an old water mine, and of course it got blamed on North Korea. So says I'm not saying North Korea, again, North Korea isn't like the epitome of freedom. I'm just saying, I'm trying to get the facts straight here, because there's a lot of BS out there. UK move sparks fury among Israelis. The UK government's decision to upgrade the status of Palestinian diplomatic representatives in the Palestinian mission in London has sparked Israel's anger. Or, of course, Senator McCain calls for a release of Israeli spy, and he is joined by ex-CIA Director James Woolsey and U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger. So go figure, right? They all want that guy out. And he's been, I think he was arrested in '85. DOJ, and of course, if it's something like, you know, a patriot or something like that, or a militia member, I'll throw him in there and throw him in jail for, you know, and just throw away the key, right? That's how it'll be. But one of their buddies, one of their operatives, no, they got to get them out of there. DOJ says controversial Patriot Act provisionals are essential. U.S. Patriot Act extension sparks debate. And then we have Dade cops waiting to get crime-fighting drone airborne. And Miami-Dade's new crime-fighting tool is a literal eye in the sky. So the eye in the sky is watching you, and they're going up all throughout the South. Proposed bill would put curbs on data gathering, so it's create an online privacy bill of rights. Sure, right. Top counterterrorism experts, indefinite detention will increase terrorism. So former counterterrorism czar Richard Clarke wrote in May 2009 that the indefinite detention without trials leading al-Qaeda as a recruiting tool. So there you go, straight from the source. DHS concludes they have authority to monitor political activities of advocacy groups, army copters who start flying over your neighborhood. Then we have millions of motorists snagged by mysterious toll booth stops. What are they doing with that information? Not prosecuting counterfeiters. Yeah, and if you have a bill larger than a 20, well, you could be a terrorist, right? If you have cash. It says here, prisoners help build the Patriot missiles, so go look at that. Slave labor. Intruder calls 911. Afraid homeowner may have a gun. Ooh, look at that. Woman arrested after taking thrown out food, so it's bad, and it's also illegal in Australia to help your neighbor. Brooklyn teen faces felony charge in death of family hamster. More U.S. citizens toss passports as IRS seeks hidden assets, and Greece grants immigrants temporary right to stay, ending 6-week hunger strike. This is GGN, and I'm Darko.